this beautiful here today in front of us.
Good afternoon. Time's 4:05 p.m. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Public Safety Committee. I'm your chair, Dan Syme, and I'm joined by Vice Chair Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins. Today I'm joined by the following committee members: Dr. Barbara Shanklin, Ken Herndon, Jonathan Joseph, Anthony Piagentini, Betsy Rui, and committee member Jenny Mulvey-Woolridge. Committee member Shamika Parrish-Wright has an excused absence today. Clerk, will you please read the virtual meeting language?
This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A.
Actually, it's
We good? Thank you, Clerk. We were going to have we were going to suspend this session because we didn't know what we wanted to talk about. We didn't have an agenda, and I just couldn't do that. And I asked Deputy Chief Emily McKinley to come in and give us an update on the year and what they've got going in LMPD. And Officer McKinley, would you please come forward, state your name and title for the record, and please begin.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Emily McKinley. I'm the Deputy Chief for Louisville Metro Police Department. Really glad to be here, and it was really great to see a lot of you all out at National Night Out yesterday. We had a good time. I wasn't able to get out to all of them, and I know unfortunately it started raining towards the end there, but for those of you that I did see, it was really good to see you and everybody. It was good to have your support at all the divisions out there, so thanks for that. Do you want me to just run with this?
Run with it.
Okay. So, again, I think this is really good for us to come periodically, and maybe we can talk about that in the future, whether it's talking about crime trends or what we're seeing as far as crime or things that are going on in the department, updating council quarterly or semi-annually somehow on progress on the department, just coming here. This is kind of an ad hoc presentation that I put together. This was, again, Councilman Syme reached out and asked if I would come a couple of days ago. So we were talking today at our bi-weekly about mid-year crime trends, and really, we talk frequently about looking at previous years, so comparing 25 to 24, but we really don't talk about what's the long-term trajectory looking like. And so we wanted to highlight that today at our bi-weekly press conference, which we did. And so I'm going to share with you some of those stats that we went over in that, and then go into it a little more detail for you all, and then I'll answer any questions that you all have about this or anything else. So, all right, so this is a frequent slide that we have at our bi-weekly, but this is comparing 25 to 24, and if you look at these numbers, I mean, these numbers are drastic. These are very significant changes that is happening in our community when it comes to violent crime. These are lives that are being saved. These are communities that are becoming safer, and it's not just because of the work of LMPD. Our officers do a fantastic job. Our detectives and professional staff do a fantastic job. But the partnership from you all, the support from you all, I think the community hears that, and the rhetoric is starting to turn in a positive manner when it comes to how people feel within our community and they're feeling safe. And so we want to make sure people know that these changes are happening. This is not by accident. This is very intentional. And so homicides are down 33%. Our non-fatal shootings down 31%. Carjackings, that was a big thing over the past few years, and we're continuing to drive that down. And that's thanks to you all, your support of Flock, the Metro Watch cameras that you all support and fund in your India funds and give us additional voices to support that in our community. So thank you for that, because that is what solves these crimes and keeps people who do these crimes in jail or off our streets where they belong. So one of the things that we are seeing that's trending upward is bank and business robberies, and and that's just if you compare 24. If you look at the past 5 or 6 years, we are significantly lower, but 24, we had less bank robberies than we did do this year, but we still have significantly less than we have over the past 6 or 7 years. Again, business and bank robberies, you usually have a cluster of those that might be perpetrated by the same person or committed by the same person or the same couple group of people, and the robbery unit usually identifies them pretty quickly, make an arrest, and they're able to clear several bank robberies or business robberies at once. So, I wish these colors were a little bit better. And I apologize for that. The top line, which is actually more orangey, is an average of, so if you took 2019 to 2024 and averaged the number of homicides for every month, that line follows that number over the past that group of 6 years there of 2019 to 24. That is that top line. The bottom line is the number of homicides for 2025 each month. So we are trending consistently lower than the average number of homicides every month if you looked at the past 6 years or 6 years prior, 2019 to 2024. In February, we did have that spike there. You'll see where we had 10 this year. In February, that was that we did have that triple homicide at the DMV. So that's going to contribute to that high number there. That was one incident with 3 victims there. So, but again, look at June. We had a fantastic summer. I mean, if you're looking at decreases, June that number is down near over 50%. If you look at the average over the past several years. So. Good numbers there as far as homicides go, and we continue to hope to see that go downward. Same with non-fatal shootings. So the top line is that average over the past 6 years, and then the current year is the line that goes below. So we're continuing to see that average of non-fatal shootings per month go down. If you look at July, look at this past month, we had 29 non-fatal shootings. The average over the past 6 years has been over 50, so at 50 or 51 if you want to round that up. But that's nearly a 50% decrease there. Really great job that everybody is doing collectively in focusing on non-fatal shootings, getting the right people who are trigger pullers, who are getting guns off the street, and keeping people off the street so that we can keep these numbers low. Property crime is another big thing. I know we talk about violent crime a lot, but if you look at community surveys that we have, property crime concerns are one of the top concerns that are voiced by the community. Because I think a lot of people, I've had my car broken into. I've had a couple times. I know how violating that feels. And so I think a lot of people have experienced being victims of property crime because it can include a lot of different things, whether it's your car getting broken into, your house getting burglarized, some sort of criminal mischief or property damage, or your car being stolen. There's several other different types of property crime. But again, we wanted to show that property crime is continuing to drive down, especially if you look at going back to 2019. And I mean, these are thousands of less cases this year. So you have like 20,000 cases of property crime this year compared to 24,000 in 2019. So this decline is very significant, and we like to see that trend line progressing downward. Again, the percentage here, so there's an average of 11% difference from 2019 to now. Motor vehicle theft is another hot topic. We have not really reached pre-2019 numbers yet, but that again, it's still going downward. You'll see that spike in 23 where that was when we started seeing a lot of the Kia, the Hyundai, and all of those auto thefts occurring. There was a lot of messaging that went out about those vehicles. I think the manufacturers made some changes to the the electronic computer systems within those cars, and so that was able to help prevent a lot of those thefts and reduce that number, as well as we've got a lot of messaging out about removing your key fobs from vehicles and continuing to lock your vehicles, because that seems to be the number one way that people are stealing cars. They go to break into a car, the car's unlocked, they're going to immediately push to start, and if there's a key fob, then it's not only going to be a T-butt from auto, and now it's going to be a car theft. And so taking your key fobs out has been a consistent message, and I think people are finally heeding to that. This is theft from motor vehicle. So again, this is a really significant drop from 2019. I think it was over 30% difference if you look at the number from 2019 to the number of motor or theft from motor vehicles this year. Again, that could be because we do have an increase in motor vehicle theft. So that, like I just talked about, you could have cars that could have been or would have been a theft from motor vehicle, but they're breaking into cars and then pushing the push to start, and then now it is the auto theft. And so that could be a reason why for a decline in theft from motor vehicle, but an increase in auto theft, if that makes sense. But still, this is a really good trend line to see. It's really refreshing to see that the work over several years to contribute to this 14% decrease in theft from motor vehicle. Aggravated assaults. So aggravated assaults would be, non-fatal shootings would be included in aggravated assaults, but also things like any, like a stabbing or any other type of felony assault, as well as any sort of wanton endangerment. So if someone shoots a gun at somebody or points a gun at somebody, that's often charged as a wanton endangerment, and those are included in our aggravated assaults. You kind of see that spike there in 23, and then it continues to drop as we get down to this year. And so we hope to see that number continue to go down so we can get down to the pre-2019 numbers. And then that number from 23 has dropped over 50% in the past 2 years. So that's good, and that's excellent progress to see. And I'm not going to go through every division because we would be here forever, but when we have CompStat every week, we go over these numbers with division majors and talk about the crime in their specific division and what they're doing and what their officers are doing. But I want to highlight the first division for a little bit to just give you all an example and context of what proactive policing does and how that affects violent crime. And so if you look at the first division includes downtown Portland, Russell, that area, and there is a lot of violent crime in that area. There's a lot of crime in general. But last year, at this time last year, you see this number of the 7,416. There were 7,416 times that an officer did some sort of proactive activity. And that could include a traffic stop, it could include a pedestrian stop, it could include a business check, it could include calling off that I'm gonna walk this beat or I'm gonna walk this block. It could include a slew of things. But they had 7,000 this time last year. Right now, that same division has over 20,000. They've nearly tripled their proactive activity in their division. And I'll tell you, for the first time since 2018, the first division did not have one homicide in the month of July. And that is a summer month, it's a busy month, there's a lot of people out, and there was not one person killed in that division. And one of the reasons that I think is that officers are out engaging with people, engaging with the right people, and doing the right things. And so that's reflective from the work that they're doing here, and Major Edelin is doing a fantastic job of running that division. This is also, and I know these are a lot of numbers and a lot of data, but that's kind of how we figure out what we need to do and what's working and what's not. But this is first division number. So this is first division crime year to date. So this is for the entire 2025 right now. And you see the green numbers above these larger numbers. So there's robbery, homicide, sexual abuse, assault, burglary, all of these things, all these different types of crimes. and the decrease, so 60% less homicides this year in the first division, and they have all that proactivity. They have 4% less robberies, so that would include like street robberies. There's 34% sexual abuse and assault cases that are occurring there. Burglary is down 27%. And motor vehicle thefts in the first division are down 34%. Theft from vehicle, down 2%. Aggravated assaults, 12%. Non-domestic violence aggravated assaults, 33%. So these numbers, it's rare that you see green, especially in the first division, where there's a lot of activity and a lot of diversity in that first division as far as, you go from downtown to Russell to Portland. There's a lot of diverse neighborhoods here, and we're consistently seeing crime going down everywhere in the first division. And in other divisions too. I'm just using the first division right now as an example. This is the first division in the past 28 days. So a lot of times in our CompStat meetings, we will talk about not just year-to-date crime, but what's happened in the past 28 days, what's happened in the past month. And so they have had 0 homicides, like I discussed, in the past month. I think they had 1 homicide in June. They've had 4, I believe, the entire year in a certain area, that we've had 9 previously in that same area. So robberies down this past reporting period, 23%, burglaries down 20%, motor vehicle theft 43% in the past month, theft from vehicle 36%, aggravated assaults 31%, non-domestic violence aggravated assaults 44%. And I know I'm rattling off a ton of numbers, but it is really good to see progress. I think police officers are enjoying what they're doing, and they are rewarded by seeing these numbers as well, because they know the work that they're doing is meaningful and it's actually having an impact. I have a couple more slides and I'll answer questions, but I know there's been a lot of talk about juvenile crime and especially when it comes to homicides and non-fatal shootings, but I want to give you all some context behind that. These are numbers for juvenile suspects and victims year to date for this year and last year. We are down in juvenile victims and suspects for homicide compared to last year. It is still heartbreaking and frustrating to see juveniles involved in this type of activity, but it is. I want everyone to know that the problem has been. There's not an exacerbated problem right now. This is something that has occurred for many years, and I'll get into some more slides here in a little bit. But there's not just this abnormal spike, I guess is what I'm saying right now. I also have the average ages here. This year it looks like the average age for a juvenile victim has been 16 compared to 14 years old last year. As far as shootings, we're in similar numbers. There's 1 additional suspect that we've arrested for a non-fatal shooting if you are looking at juveniles. And then we're down in juvenile victims compared to this time last year at 36 victims this year compared to 56 juvenile victims last year. This is 2025 to 2024, just on a graph. So the same numbers that we kind of just went over a little bit, just to show how they've progressed throughout the year, month to month. Usually we will see a dip when we go back to school, so we'll look for that this fall. It will be interesting to see if that happens. If that doesn't happen and there continues to be either, if that stays level or this continues to go up, then we might reassess and ask ourselves, do we have another problem that we need to address? Same with homicides here. This is just the same map or graph, mapping them out monthly, comparing 25 to 24. That are the slides that we presented today, and a little bit more at our biweekly. And I will open it up for questions or anything else you all would like to talk about or ask. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Officer. We do have some folks in the queue, and Councilman Piagentini is number one.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate your time today. A couple things. I tried to pull it up on my phone, but the resolution sucks. Can you talk about our current homicide clearance rate,
Yes.
where we
So,
currently are?
yes, the homicide clearance rate is hovering right around 50%. And that's fantastic news. And that gives those detectives, especially since we have less homicides to work, they now have more time to dedicate to the cases that they're picking up. It also gives them more time to dedicate to the cases that they had last year or the year before that they might have leads or to follow up on. So having less homicides definitely lends to a higher clearance rate. We also work closely with our forensics labs, and that has helped clearing a lot of our homicide cases.
Thank you. And I just want to point out that in 2021, the year before the Greenberg administration took over, it was 31%. I mean, that's how much of a difference we've seen over the past couple of years. And then it got up in the 40s, and now I thought I saw we were pushing 50%. So this is just a tremendous movement. And I want to cycle that into my next question, or maybe something you can comment on. It's been, there have been people, including council members, who have made the claim that police don't prevent crime. They only show up after everybody's dead. And my contention is that when we clear homicides more efficiently, for example, that it's actually quite rare that somebody commits one homicide in their whole life, right? That they commit homicides. If they're not caught, they commit more homicides. So the more we clear, the less future homicides we have. And I think we're starting to see some of that trend. But can you comment about the impact that police have on preventing crime?
Yeah, I think having positive role models is important, and I think having police officers interact in a positive way with whether that's like examples with National Night Out or interacting in a positive way where they're victims of crime, they feel like they can trust the police department and give information. We solve crimes because we get information from the community, and I need the community to have a good relationship with us. We are the people that can put handcuffs on people and take them to jail. And I need the community to share information so that our detectives can put handcuffs on the right people and take them to jail. And if the community doesn't trust the police, that they have their best interests at heart, or that they're not going to do anything nefarious with the information that they're providing them, and that they trust that the police are going to protect them in coming forward. If they don't do that, if they don't trust that, then those arrests are not going to happen, and those clearance rates are going to be lower. And I think that if you look at 2021 and the climate of 2021, I think that is also a reason behind the lower clearance rate around that time. And you see this increase of, I think, community engagement and how LMPD has interacted with the community over the past few years, and that lends to this higher clearance rate that you're seeing now.
That's great. Quick comment, then one last question for you. There was actually a think tank. I'm ecstatic to see the numbers on self-directed activity. It's again, I think you gave some examples, but for anybody that doesn't know, it may be the greatest tool we actually have in the LMPD toolbox, both for community engagement, but also for solving crimes. There was actually a study done by a think tank a couple years ago that found that there was a direct relation to homicide rates and every 1,000 instances of self-directed activity in any police department. In other words, every time we saw a reduction by 1,000 self-directed activities, you saw an increase in the homicide rate, and the reverse also happened. So I don't think it's a coincidence that LMPD is doing more self-directed activity than we've been doing in prior years, and we're seeing a pretty significant reduction in crime. But last thing I wanted to ask was, again, it's been, the idea has been bandied about that, we've seen a reduction in crime, ergo, we should see a reduction in officers or a reduction in funding for LMPD. Have you seen any jurisdictions that have seen a reduction in crime and then proportionately reduce their budget or reduce the amount of officers and continued to see that reduction in crime?
No, the short answer is no. I don't know of a jurisdiction that has seen that. But I think we can't be satisfied with these numbers either. I mean, we have to, there's no finish line here. There's no, oh, we've reached this point, and so let's pull back or let's maintain status quo. And I think you have to keep pushing forward to drive this down even further.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because actually, if you go pre-2019, the average amount of homicides per year over almost like a 10-year period, as I looked at it, was something just north of 50 homicides a year that we used to experience in the city. And the city hasn't grown all that much in that period of time, maybe 5 to 10% total growth from that 2010 to 2019 period until now. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, we're making tremendous progress, which we love to see, and it doesn't happen overnight. But I agree, like, the bar needs to be pushed further, and I think the mayor's intention to have, and I think it's minimum 15% reductions in crime, particularly homicides per year, until we get down to at least those levels, I think is precisely where we need to be.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And when we do get to those levels, we're still going to say, well, I want to reduce crime. So it's never, we're never going to ever say our goal is to have 0% crime reduction. It's always going to be lower. So we have to keep figuring out how to continue that progress.
Well, thank you. And I had a meeting, usually I don't repeat everything that every conversation I have with the mayor when it's private, but let's just say there was an indication that a bordering police department indicated that for the first time in years, they're struggling to get recruits and struggling to get officers, where in the years past, we had this big outflux of LMPD officers going to these bordering jurisdictions, and that they're even admitting that that trend has completely reversed. Look, I think we could talk about pay, we could talk about all this other stuff. I just wanted to thank you and Chief Humphrey, because I think leadership has a lot to do with that. And I appreciate how you all are supporting and working together with your officers in a collaborative way to get this job done from a leadership perspective, because I think that, just as much as all the other reasons, contributes to people wanting to stay and serve this community. So thanks very much, Chief. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Piagentini. I mimic everything you just said, Officer McKinley. We have Ken Herndon in the
Thank you, Mr.
queue,
Chairman.
please.
Thank you, Deputy Chief, for coming today. Division 1 of the statute used, that covers the vast majority of Metro Council District 4, and you're right. I think Major Edlin and his staff have done a fantastic job, and I really support them. And I'm glad to see that the stats bear out their good work. One thing I wanted to ask, despite the great numbers that you shared with us, what's the one stat that still keeps you up at night? Is there some area of concern or trouble that we need to pay special attention to, beside the good numbers in those other areas?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that, I mean, we talk about these homicides and shootings all the time. I mean, there are homicides and shootings that I worked that I wish that I could solve, that I think about, and we have not solved them, and I don't know if we will. And so personally, that stuff, it keeps me up, because that's something that's personal to me, that I struggle with, that I wish I could give answers to people that I don't have. Traffic is another thing. We hear a lot of, and I don't have the traffic fatality data in front of me, but I know we hear a lot about traffic fatalities. I know that those are always heartbreaking, and I hear people complain about, how people drive in Louisville and the frustrations of people driving crazy and speeding and things like that. I would like to find ways to, for us to have resources to enforce that, whether that be, and I know we've had these conversations, but whether that's through some sort of automated enforcement, and I'm not here to really get into those details, but there are a number of things that we can talk about as far as increasing our traffic safety control.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and we will be talking about automated enforcement in the future, trust me. Councilwoman Hawkins, she's in the queue.
How you doing? Thanks for being here today.
Yes, ma'am.
I just got a couple of questions I want to ask. So, does LMPD have a gang task force, or how does LMPD respond to gang activity?
Right. So we have our criminal interdiction division, and within that division, there are violent crime response units. They're broken up into different units. But also in that division, we have our prohibited firearm possessor program that also works with our group violence intervention team within the city. So that team is really focused on the group involvement activities, whether that's shootings, homicides, robberies, or any other crime. But it generally comes out of our criminal interdiction unit, and then we work with other partners within the city, and we provide outreach. We do, if we identify groups or individuals that are involved in violent crime or may be close to becoming a trigger puller, or they're associating with people that we know are involved with shootings and homicides, but maybe they haven't done that yet. We will go knock on their door there's a police officer and there's outreach workers, and they will offer services to get them out of that lifestyle. And so that is something that we do when it comes to whether it's gangs or group violence.
Okay, so which leads me to my next question. So, so I know all about, that's kind of what I think Kim Moore and Office for Violence Prevention does, right? Go knock on
Yes.
doors if they think somebody's
Yes.
involved in that. So how does LMPD, how are you all involved? Does the, like, let's say if the Office for Violence Prevention, if they know somebody's active, right? Do they communicate that with you all? Are they a vessel for you all at all?
Yes, I mean, we have meetings with that office, the Office of Violence Prevention, regularly. And LMPD, members of OVP, and maybe the county attorney, Commonwealth attorney, there's other groups that are involved in this. We'll have conversations about, do we need to focus on or do outreach with these individuals, and we think they might be involved in or leaning towards being involved in violent crime, so let's get them some resources. So, yes.
Okay, all right. Because I know they said once before that they don't talk to the police. And that's neither here nor there. So as far as the community engagement units, how many officers are with that community engagement unit specifically?
I think there's a sergeant and 2 or 3 officers that are assigned to community engagement. But each division has 1 or 2 division resource officers that will also work with the community engagement unit.
So, how would you, well, I think you did define it. You said like National Night Out, you would define community engagement, and I would agree with that. The one that we just said was awesome. And I work really close with my major. But as far as the community engagement piece, so do you think that having 1 or 2 community engagement or resource officers working in the community, that's effective or efficient? Or do you feel like that, that there needs to be more?
So community engagement doesn't just come from the community engagement unit. So every officer interacts with many people every day. And every time they interact with someone, that is a community engagement opportunity. Yes, we have a unit that they're responsible for coordinating a lot of events, hosting a lot of events. They'll coordinate a lot of the GREAT program with JCPS that other officers also facilitate. And our community engagement unit will reach out to other divisions and recruit officers to go to different events, or they might get the mounted patrol, or I need the SWAT team demonstrating something at this event. So just because we don't just have 3 officers doing community engagement on our department. Every single officer does community engagement and is expected to do community engagement every day.
Right, and I get that, but every single officer does not get out of their car and do community engagement. Then if it's something, I'm talking about something that has absolutely nothing to do with violence, nothing from the police calling, our officers engaged. Not, I understand if they pull up, if somebody calls 911, of course, they're calling them to come.
Yeah.
That's not the community engagement I'm speaking of. I'm speaking because I have talked to a couple of officers, and they would like to see more officers be a part of the community engagement, right? So that's why I was asking you that.
Yeah.
You know, and I got that from different officers. And actually, I just met a new community engagement officer at Algonquin. She met me over there and got some of my ideas. But I'm just not speaking for
Yeah.
me. I'm speaking for like maybe other areas as well. Because like you said,
Yeah.
there's crime everywhere.
No, I mean, you're right. And I mean, if we had a fully staffed police department,
Right.
We could put more people in community engagement. I could put more people in other units. I could put more people in domestic violence and other division detective units. But we have the personnel that we have to work with. We do have to staff patrol first. That's the backbone of the department. And we got to make sure we're able to respond to the 911 calls before we are able to staff some of our auxiliary units. And so, our ancillary units. But no, I don't disagree with you. I would love to have more officers that are dedicated to organizing a lot of these events and being a point of contact for our department. And perhaps going forward, when we have now, we have a larger recruit class that's in right now, and hopefully those numbers as far as recruits go up, and then we can start adding more people there, and we would absolutely love to do that.
Well, and I agree with you as well, but I would just really like to see less officers just sitting, whether it's at Thornton's or sitting somewhere or just riding around until they get a call. Just get out and pull up at a park and get a basketball and get on the field or something. It doesn't always have to be because somebody's calling 911. But I think we're on the same page with that. Lastly, and then I'm done, Chair. So I remember the last time that I spoke to Major Elan, and I spoke with the Chief Humphrey. They were working on, and you may not know this, you may have to get back with me,
Okay.
but they was working on a safety plan for 26th Street, right?
Correct.
And I have not seen that plan come to fruition, and that is not my district, that is Councilman Herndon's district, but I am in his district all the time. I'm out in the streets at night from 10, sometimes to 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm at Club Cedar, I'm on 26th Street at Double Deuces, and I don't see a police officer in sight. And when I did see him in sight, when I hang out on the weekends, so I can see these things going on, I think one of the neighbors called, and ABC came in and cited the club. But it wasn't the club who had the loud music. It was the people riding, 26th Street is like Crenshaw on a weekend. And the club actually has nothing to do with it. It's people hanging all out on the streets. And the club can't come out and say they cannot control the outside of their club. They can control the inside of it, the music. But the noise came from people on three-wheelers and stuff like that with this loud music. So I would like to know when that plan, there are no lights still on 26th Street, which is a safety hazard. I thought that there was supposed to be a plan implemented, like around Derby time, that was gonna have a huge impact. Because I can recall it was a homicide right there at that club on 26th Street where somebody lost their life, several people got shot. I went and talked to, I think it's Trust Bank. We got vendors hanging right in front of the bank. They like, we didn't, we caught, every time on Mondays when they come in, like, the bank, can't nobody get through the ATM, no police is in sight. So like, what is like, I see them, they'll go down 28th Street before they'll go to 26th Street. So can you tell me when that plan is supposed to come to fruition? Do I need to talk to Major Edlin? I know he's new there, I've met with him, but I know he's not new in the police department, he's new,
Yeah.
right? I just would really like to see that corridor. I'd like to see some police presence. I know they told me that they don't come by themselves, that they like to come with multiple police officers, but I'm still not seeing one.
Okay. You're right, I'll have to get back with him and have him get with you and Councilman Hurden.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Rui, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So on to, I guess, a little lighter fare there. So thank you for bringing up that the officers are getting out of their cars and having more just self-directed activity. The more that they can get out there and talk to people and have folks realize that they're real human beings who are actually here because they care and they're not the heavy hand that's coming down to pound on them, yeah, the more cooperation that you get. This is a hard one. So trying to tease out all the things that are initiatives that are coming from the mayor's office to help prevent violence through like the gang violence intervention and all the other things. Any idea how those things are impacting your numbers?
So, I think the Mayor's Safe Louisville plan, is that what you're?
Yeah, in general, yes.
Yeah, so, when Councilman Piagentini's talking about, proactive police activity and how that affects crime and how officers' proactive work reduces crime, that's not the only thing. There are social services that are needed in these communities. There's community blight that contributes to crime, and the Mayor's Safe Louisville plan is one that emphasizes that type of work along with the crime enforcement, the enforcement side. So focusing on the prevention side, so finding ways to prevent people from entering that lifestyle to begin with, resources for juveniles and kids. I know there's a section in there that talks about the pre-K program and how important that is, and those programs, getting to kids that are younger, focusing on conflict resolution strategies for people and teaching them how to resolve conflict, but also focusing on repairing those neighborhoods and improving neighborhoods. I think that also contributes to a reduction in crime. So it's not just the police department that's going to do that. And I think we would be naive, or the police department would be extremely naive if we think that that's the case.
Do you have any evidence that any of this stuff is taking hold?
Part of our crime plan, we have the crime plan that came out of LMPD. So there's 3 levels to it. You have data responsive policing, which is what's happening right now and how are we addressing the problems today. And then we have a violent offender enforcement or focus tier of our plan. We're focused on the violent offenders and persistent violent offenders. But the third part is sustained focus and improvement. And that's where we work with other entities within metro government to focus on we have 5 areas that are most notoriously known for violent crime year over year over year, and focusing on those areas, not just in proactive policing enforcement, but it's proactive engagement with police officers, but then also where are the streetlights that are out, to Councilman Hawkins' point? Where's the graffiti? Where's the overgrown yards? Where's the abandoned houses? Let's make sure that if there's a homicide or shooting in one of these areas, that we're giving it priority investigative resources. So that part of that plan, and we just had our second quarterly meeting, and I can get you all data from each one of these areas, but crime is going down in those areas. One of the areas is 26th that includes 26 and Broadway, the Russell neighborhood, but in one of the areas includes downtown Louisville and City View. And so we've seen crime go down because of the work that not just the police department's doing, but that Codes and Regs is focusing on, or parks, repairing the parks in any of these areas, or our public works and boarding up abandoned houses and making sure that we're taking care of those problems as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I see a line now.
Thank you. Councilman Herndon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up Councilwoman Hawkins' comments. I do, we all have boundaries to our districts, but the issues don't know boundaries, and we share them. And so I look very much forward to working with that at 26th and Broadway, 28th and Broadway. I was just meeting with a business person at Lyles Mall a couple of days ago, and we talked about needing not just a more noticeable police presence on the streets there, but also in the case of Kroger or Lyles Mall to drive through the parking lot once in a while as well. That off-street visual, even if it's infrequent, it makes a difference, and I'd like to work with Councilwoman Hawkins and Major Elam, and behind there, Major Miller, because that's where Division 2 starts. I have 1, 2, 4, and 5 in my district, mostly 1, but little pieces of others too. So we cross boundaries and have similar issues, and I look forward to working together to help solve those.
Councilwoman Mulvey Woolridge, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate you being here, Deputy Chief McKinley. So I know we've talked before about you coming here or somebody from LMP coming and giving these reports, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
More of a comment instead of a question, but again, along with the open communication, thank you for doing that, not only to us, but I appreciate the continuing open communication that you all give on a weekly basis to the community and the public. As we've talked about, like I said before, of giving these type of reports of not only what crime is doing, I'm glad to see it taking a tick down and continuing taking that tick down, but being honest and open if it is taking that tick up. I know we've talked about it, you showed that there's an 11% uprise there on one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Being that open and how we're addressing that and how the LMPD is addressing that and going to make sure that does take a downward tick moving forward. But as we look at what the initiatives LMPD is taking moving forward, and as you all had already assigned that community commitment, but what are you doing as we move forward with those and those initiatives that you had agreed upon and you've already moved into action, and how that's working in the community. So appreciate that, look forward to continue seeing that. And so I know, Dan, you've already had those conversations with the deputy chief and the chief of getting those on future agendas. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilman Joseph, please.
Deputy Chief, thank you for being here. I just wanted to ask, since let's say this time last year, what has manpower recruiting numbers been like? Is there a trend? Is that also probably contributed to numbers going down? And what would you suggest on that?
Yeah, so staffing compared to this time last year is generally about the same. If you look at the number of sworn officers, we are consistently hovering around 1,050, give or take. That's about the staffing level right now when you talk about sworn officers. However, we do have the largest recruit class that is in our academy right now, so that number doesn't include, there's 30 officers in one class and I think maybe 15 in another class, and those are set to graduate in one class, the smaller class will graduate here in the next few weeks, and then the groups of 30 will graduate, I think, at the beginning of the year, and I might be a little off on those dates, but it will be in the next few months that we'll have another 40 or so on the street. And if that number, adding the 40 or so more officers, that would bring us to one of our largest staffing numbers at that time. So.
And how often do we get recruiting classes?
So there's 3 recruit classes a year.
Okay.
There's one that starts in February, one that starts in June, and one that starts in October. And the maximum number of seats are 48 in each class. Now, if I could figure out, if I had 50 people or 55 people that were eligible to be hired in a particular class, I would figure out how to hire more than
Right.
48. But generally, 48's the number that we've gone with.
So it's pretty safe to say recruiting and retirement are probably pretty level. We're
Yes.
bringing in what we're pretty much
Right, we
retiring.
had, do you know how many left this past? There was maybe 10 or 12 officers at all ranks. There was a couple majors that retired August 1st. So, yes, so you'll see a few months a year where you'll get a bulk of people that retire. And then, so, yeah, your attrition rate kind of has kept up with our hiring rate. So that's why it's kind of stayed the same.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hawkins.
I did fail to say that I appreciate you for coming. And one thing that I am going to say that I respect about you, you know, one, you're a woman, right? But you always give a straight answer. And if you can't get it, you always circle the block. And your responses are awesome.
Well, I appreciate it.
You
Thank you.
know, and you listen to each question, you know, and you answer them, and you think about what you say before you say it. And you've always done that since I've been on council. So I just want to say thank you. Thanks a
you.
lot.
Appreciate it.
Before we close, I do have a couple questions. How many guns are we getting from vehicle thefts? How many, do you know, we getting a count on that?
I don't have that, but I can look that up and try to get that for you.
What happens when we find a juvenile with a gun? What do we do?
Well, it depends on what they've done with the gun. But if they just have a gun, then usually there's a citation that's written out. We have to call the CDW. The CDW will determine and make contact with the judge, who will determine if that juvenile can be released to a parent or guardian, or if there is a parent or guardian that we can release the juvenile to. Or if we, depending on maybe the crime, if it was a shooting that the kid was involved in, or some other domestic violence incident where we needed to take the kid into custody, the judge and the CDW might make a determination to take the kid into custody, and then we would transport them to the juvenile facility.
So possessing the gun is not the crime?
No, it is illegal for a kid to possess a gun, but there are times that you might have a kid where they have a gun, you arrest them, write a citation, and the decision is made to release them back to the parent.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple more things I wanted to say. My email gets a newsletter from you every month maybe or something.
Okay,
Can we make that shareable?
sure. Is it from me?
It comes from LMPD's newsletter.
Okay.
And we can't share it, and I want to be able to share what you are doing in my district, and I know other council members would like to do that.
Okay.
Another thing is, next month is Law Enforcement Appreciation Month, and we appreciate you. We're going to do everything we can to show you that, and you tell your officers we appreciate them. We're going to do everything we can to show them, but we want to thank you for your service here. I know you're here to serve us and protect us, and you're making us feel safer. And we thank you. We thank the new chief, the mayor for their initiatives, and there's no one else in the queue. If there's no other business, we're going to adjourn this meeting till the next regularly scheduled meeting of August 20th at 4 o'clock. Thank you, officer, and thank the officers in the back, and tell your squad that we got their back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.